What's dangerous is when the universe pick you and you put on the magic glasses. There's rules that go with them. You can never take them off. You never see things as they're supposed to be. You see things as they are. You can never force nobody else to wear them.
I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubt. And I have my doubt that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. That we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back up. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out.
Just go away, baiting.
That's right.
Damn it.
I'm baiting. I was baiting. No, I was I was actually, just before the show, I started to read a little bit more of 14 Days. And, wow. It is... I thought 7 days was good, and 14 days is even better. And I think I'm only on chapter 3. If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to look again. But, oh. Sorry. I forgot to push buttons and stuff. So anyway. Gosh. So I'll start out with that real quick. I was able to acquire the other 2 books that Joseph D. Niemeyer has available. Of course, his first book that I did a review on, 7 Days, incredible book. The sequel to that, 14 Days, is what I just started reading. And like I say, it's even better. So far, it's even better. And then he's got another book that's not a part of those, but and it's like true stories from his past, and it's called Free Range. And so I haven't started that yet, but man, it's I love those books. I just love those books. So I wanted to mention that. I got that out of the way, and so I can close the video here. I left it up so I wouldn't forget to say it. You guys know how I'm harsh, to put it lightly, especially when it comes to the prepping spear. And one of the guys that I've come down on more than once, Travis from the Prepared Homestead, here as of lately, he has been putting out content more geared towards the community mindset. And in fact, the video I got done watching a little bit ago, right before the show, was titled, "Do We Prepare for When People Actually Pull Together?" And so he put that out, well, I'm showing now 38 minutes ago. It's probably a little bit more. I'd have to refresh, I would think. But really, really good video. He had a video earlier today that he put out as well. That was really, really good. Let me bring it up. What in the world are we doing was a pretty good video. And lately, he has really been putting out good content, especially around the community mindset. And, you know, I can't give him more props than that. I absolutely can't. Another guy that I very often come down on put out an awesome video today, and I call him Pin Brain, but Pinball Preparedness. He did a video this morning on gardening, essentially. And that's one thing the man knows. He is right on target when it comes to that stuff. And I wouldn't hesitate a second to send somebody to his content when it comes to gardening. Politics, on the other hand, not that I'm not that I'm more towards the left whatsoever. I'm actually more towards the right. But, rhetoric is rhetoric, and it really has no place in an honest conversation. But that's neither here nor there. I wanted to say that they both have put out incredible content today, and I got that covered. So the other thing, I was driving myself nuts just before the show. I don't know. I guess probably most of us at one time or another think about old friends and stuff like that. And there's a guy that I have thought about off and on, gosh, for decades. And we were best friends at one time. And I may have gotten an inch closer to finding out or, getting back in contact with him today. I hope so. Because I have thought about this guy time and time again. And if there's one thing, I am loyal to my friends. No doubt about it. And I thought the world of this guy. Name was Bruce Myers. Thought the world of this guy. And, well, a situation happened, again, decades ago. I don't even think I don't know if I was 20 years old yet. I might have been, but it would have been right around that area. And, well, we were best friends. And there was a pretty short period of time that I was staying with him and his girlfriend when I moved in. And I'm one of those guys that I'll try to keep my nose out of things as long as I can go to bed at night, you know. And so what had happened was I went with his girlfriend over to another good friend of mine's house. And before we left, she wound up sleeping with the guy. And so we went back home, and I don't know, a short time later, he came out after came back in after spending an evening out with her, and told me that he proposed to her, and asked me to be his best man. And absolutely, I wouldn't have turned away from being his best man. However, what had happened just kept eating at me, and I couldn't tell you any more exactly how long it was. I couldn't tell you. I guarantee it wasn't over a week, because it was eating at me like you wouldn't believe. So finally one day I'm like, Bruce, dude, I got to talk to you. And so I sat him down, and I told him about it. And, you know, what he did, even if you wanted to just ignore it, that would have been good with me. That, you know, but as a friend, I felt it was my duty to tell him. And so initially he had broke it off with her, and me and him rented a small house. We had all three of us worked together, and we and him rented a small house, and he wasn't there very long. If it was a month, it wasn't much over that, you know. Put it this way, we moved in, and the next time rent was due, guess who had to come up with all the money for rent and plus all the money for power and all that stuff? This guy. Well, that's what happened. He decided to go back to her, and again, I wouldn't have gave it a second thought if he would have never left her. That's on him, but it's on me to not have told him. That's how I feel anyway, and I still feel the same way. I still feel like I did the right thing. And so anyway, I hadn't had any contact with him ever since, but he's somebody that I've thought about time in and time out. I just, I don't know, I actually was starting to drive myself crazy tonight trying to find him, because I got one more little tidbit of information, which I assume is correct, and that was the state that he's currently living in. But no dice, no luck. I wasn't able to locate him. And man, I hope that is one person that I hope to get a chance to speak to again before I'm 6 foot under, because I always thought the world of the guy. I still think the world of the guy. And just an incredible human being. He was a good man. Dad was a good man too, from what I recall. But yeah, so I do hope that I get back in contact with him. Anyway, I do have some crazy news to cover tonight. I thought it was going to be one of those days that the news was just going to be just out of this world, but thankfully it wasn't. After a couple of humdingers, things kind of, stewed back down, which is normal for a Sunday. I don't expect a lot of stuff to come out on Sundays. But let me see if I've got anything else to mention before we dive into that stuff. I don't really know of anything. I've spent much of today cutting vinyl. I'm doing up some vinyl decals for our town, and so I spent quite a bit today cutting vinyl, because I had already had a bunch cut, and I didn't realize as I was cutting I didn't have my tool holder tight enough, and so the tool holder kind of kept moving up and moving up until it couldn't cut properly. And I am very picky. And the problem with having decals that aren't cut clean is because you'll leave little bitty ripples when you weed the vinyl. And those little ripples over time will allow moisture and dirt and stuff like that to get under the edge of the vinyl. And then especially if it's put on a car, which most of the decals that I make are put on cars, it doesn't take that long before it starts working that decal off. And I'm not good with that. I'm very picky about what I put out. And so I just started from scratch today and just recut everything. And I'll probably be spending much of tomorrow assembling everything. And then, hopefully I'll have it done and available for the local townsfolk. And I love our town's logo / shield / flag, whatever. I think it's really, really cool. Let me grab one of the 6 inches. That way you can see it. But that's our town shield. We are a Swiss / German town. So that's our town shield. And anyway, I love it. But so I'm doing up a bunch of those. I'm doing up some I Stand With Texas decals and what else is over there? I don't remember. But anyway, gonna be getting that done, and then I got a Buck Fiden decal that I got a guy wanting some. Nah, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's got masking on it. Yeah, you can kind of see that. Let me get it. Buck Fiden. So, I got a guy wanting some of those. So he'll get some of those. But anyway, I got to cut those yet, though. I haven't cut those. That one, I couldn't even tell you how many years old that is. I've had that cut and done for a while. It was from, I'm sure back during the campaign period. So it's probably about 4, 5, 6 years old. Or 4 or 5, I would say, years old. But, and I ain't going to give him an old one. I'll cut him a new one. But other than that, that's what I've been up to. And like I said, I was reading Joe's book shortly before the show. Got 1 page in. I mean, it was like right before the show. I picked up my tablet and started reading away. But anyway, I think that's about everything I got. We'll get into this news. It is kind of crazy. This first one, before I switch it over to the article, I'll speak to it a little bit. As the headline is Suspected Chinese Spy Pigeon is Freed. So, what's that? Oh, you turn 51 on the 13th? Wow. That's, you'll be up there with me for a little bit until May. I'll be 52. But, okay. Sorry, didn't catch that. Well, if it's a Keurig machine, go ahead and toss that puppy. I don't know nothing about that. But, and for the other folks here too, is, okay, a coffee pot. There's 2 things I gotta say, and I'm talking about just your regular run-of-the-mill coffee pot, nothing extra special, nothing. First off, I'll tell you the first thing. 99.9% of the time, if your coffee pot quits heating, it won't heat, it won't work. There is what they call a thermal fuse in the bottom of it. And you can get a bunch of them from Amazon for pretty cheap. And all you have to do is take off the bottom of the coffee pot, cut out that thermal fuse, put in a new thermal fuse, and you're back in business. But here's the other thing about a coffee pot. And I swear, whenever I have the extra money to replace our coffee pot, I know it only takes 20. We got like the cheapest coffee pot money can buy. And when I can replace it, I mean, it works perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. I love that coffee pot. I will replace it probably with the exact same cheap Black & Decker model. But then I will take this one, and I will do this for you guys so you see it. It's really simple. You can take the bottom off your coffee pot. Now, you need the tank, and underneath the tank, there's going to be a one-way valve. So you need the tank, and you need the one-way valve, especially the one-way valve. You can hook any water source up to that tube. That's fine. It doesn't have to be the coffee pot's tank. You can use anything that holds water as long as you can put the hose on it. But you have to have that valve. And some coffee pots, that valve is kind of built into the stem of the tank. What you can do, again, take the bottom off. And you're going to have, where your burner plate is, you're going to have usually 3 or 4 little clips in there. Usually they've got Phillips screws holding on. You can take those screws out. And the best thing that I can tell you to do would be to take those screws out and either cut some holes in the bottom of the tank, and I can't wait to be able to show you doing this, or just drill some regular holes in there and take the hoses off, poke them through the holes, you know the drill, and put them back on that burner plate. That burner plate has, it's a flat metal plate. It's a heater block, but it also has, there's a heating element on there, obviously. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about any of the wiring or nothing like that. But if you take that burner plate and again, I wish I had one to show you. Hang on. Give me 1 second here. Let me pull up a picture. Because this is something that a lot of people have no idea about. And coffee's kind of important to me. I don't know about you, but coffee's kind of important to me. Okay, I've got some pictures here. Okay, let me bring you over to the web browser here. So, you take off the bottom of your coffee pot, and you're going to find something similar to this. Now, a lot of them are done like this, too, where they got one brace going across the bottom and a screw on each side. Here's the hoses I'm talking about. And this hose here that comes from the tank is going to have a valve either in the hose right there, or it's going to be built into the tank. Some of them are in the tank, some of them are just in line in the hose. That thermocouple, by the way, let me see if I can find one with a better picture. Yeah, not seeing it there either. Let me find one where it's got the thermocouple. Easy to spot. Yeah, that's. Bear with me. I'll find one. Is this the wiener? And they may be right in front of my face, but I'm just not seeing it. Not a thermocouple. Let me say the correct name. A thermal fuse. See, that's gonna have one right there. Man. Usually they're not that hard to spot. Nah. I was looking up there. Okay, well, just because I can't see that easily, let me open this in a new tab, the picture. Ah, great. This is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. Sorry it took me so long. There it is. Right there's the thermocouple. Yeah, you can see me. It's right there, the thermocouple. And all you have to do, this is the heating element here that's going there. All you have to do is replace that part 99.9% of the time. But more to what I was talking about. You can take on the back side of your coffee pot here, and you can either cut a couple of, like a U-shaped thing, or you can just drill holes in it and then undo the clamps here, take the hoses off, put them through the holes you drilled, and then re-put the hoses back on this assembly. Then all you have to do, that will now be upside down, okay? So you'll have what your coffee pot normally sits on will actually be facing down. However, you can take anything like a Coleman 533 dual fuel stove, anything like that, a little bitty, wood stove, just like one that you would put twigs and stuff in. Anything like that, anything that would apply heat to that metal plate, and you now have a working coffee maker. And it doesn't need electricity, it doesn't need, and I promise you, after I get the stuff out of the way, because the first thing I got to get is a new LED driver for my grow light. That's going to be $60 whenever I can afford it. God knows when I'll be able to get that. But I will, whenever I can, and I don't have anything pressing, I will go out and spend $20-25 to replace our coffee pot. And I will absolutely make a video of doing this because I think a lot of people would benefit from it. But yeah, that's all you essentially have to do is heat this. The same thing as what the electric does with the heating coil, or the heating element, I should say. All you have to do is heat this. And it will use, because when you heat water, it will automatically push upwards. And so that's essentially how a coffee pot works. However, it's got a one-way valve in here so that when it does push upwards, it won't push back up into the tank. That's what the one-way valve does, is it prevents it from pushing it back up into the tank. So it's real. Coffee pots are really basic and simple devices. So again, SHTF situation, there's no electricity. You don't have to be out of coffee. So that's just kind of one of those things that a tinkerer knows about, but a lot of people never thought about. So anyway, let's talk about this spy pigeon. Before we get into the spy pigeon stuff, I want to remind you about a time not that long ago in which we had a quote-unquote spy balloon that flew over the United States of America. Well, most people in the country still think that it was a spy balloon. It was not. And I was one of very few people, in fact, I'm the only one I know of, that was saying that it was not a spy balloon. I said from day one that it was probably just a weather research balloon. And everybody's, oh, you're wrong, you're wrong. Guess what turned up? And this is, a lot of people probably don't realize this. I could probably put it in. And I did cover the articles on the show at the time that the articles came out. But, let's see. A lot of the articles I'm bringing up is articles from that particular time. Yeah, I'll have to dig on that. But there was articles that came out not that long ago that told the truth about that balloon. And it was indeed just a weather research balloon. Now here's the thing. The government knew well about the balloon before the public said anything. The government also knew that it was merely a weather research balloon. So while the government could have put all of that to bed right from the get-go, they didn't. And, I'm sure there were probably multiple reasons why. For one, Biden was trying to save face because he had a nation of people looking at him like, dude, why aren't you doing anything? Well, the reason they weren't doing anything is because the balloon was benign, and they knew it was benign. So, that leads us, that leads us to this story. And it's much, by the way, very much the very same thing. And it's insane. It is insane how the governments will lie to their people like this. So as you see the headline, suspected Chinese spy pigeon freed. And check this out. A pigeon suspected of conducting espionage operations on behalf of the People's Republic of China has been released by Indian officials after 8 months of detention following an intervention by PETA, the animal rights group has said. The bird was detained last May close to a port in Mumbai after it was discovered wearing 2 rings on its legs, with words that appeared to be Chinese inscribed on its wings, prompting concerns about its possible involvement in espionage. Eventually, though, it was determined that the pigeon had no nefarious intentions towards the Indian state and was in fact an open water racing bird from Taiwan that had escaped and made its way to the subcontinent. The pigeon, who had apparently been deemed a flight risk, was held at an animal hospital before its transfer last week to the Bombay Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, whose staff set it free on Tuesday. It was a racing bird. And how long did they know that? And yet, didn't say anything to anybody. So think about that. The next time your U.S. government tells you something that you're supposed to be afraid of. Because sometimes they'll just let stuff like that go on. And they won't correct it. They won't say a word. And that's why I use so much discernment at so many things. That's why I have so much critical thought at so many things. And that's why I'm certainly very skeptical. Look, there are benefits to using, in the case with the spy balloon, there are benefits to using a balloon versus, say, a satellite. For one, the obvious answer is if it's cloudy, if it's cloudy, a weather balloon's not going to be able to provide you much good either. But there are also different types of technologies that the government can use, and believe it or not, to be able to block a satellite from being able to view with a camera what's on the ground. There are different types of light frequencies and stuff like that. The colors of the light plus the frequency of the light itself that will actually prevent a typical camera from being able to view what's below that. They've got all kinds of crazy technologies. So, and from my understanding, it's harder to do from a lower altitude, from my understanding. I don't know know the technical details about this technology, but I know it exists. And there are most certainly, plus not only that, if a spy balloon or weather balloon, whatever, versus a satellite, you'd be able to receive more types of radio communications. And I mean, there's a myriad of reasons why a government might use a weather balloon to do surveillance with. However, it's 2024, and last year was 2023. I'm sure you figured that much out. there's a lot better technology now than just putting up a weather balloon over a nation. That's kind of an old thing. So you really have to do your due diligence with this stuff, because they're not going to tell you the truth. And if they can use it in order to scare you, in order to further an agenda, they absolutely will. And the government, U.S. government, clearly has an agenda against the Chinese government, the Russian government, and many others. I'm not saying we should be best friends with any of them, but we also shouldn't be lying to our citizens about what's going on, and neither should they in India. I mean, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. I don't know, but I think the next story, though, is a little crazier yet. Let me have a sip of tea here. So I don't know how many folks have been following this whole euthanasia thing in Canada. Absolutely insane. And I guess I do believe that there's already some parts of the program in place for people with terminal illness and stuff like that. Chronically ill. Yeah, Canada is already among the countries with most liberal laws regarding euthanasia and assisted suicide, with a procedure available to terminally and chronically ill people. So right now, if you're terminally or chronically ill, you can choose to end your own life. Now, I'm not going to take a side on this. And why am I not going to take a side on this? Because that's up to you. I can't tell somebody that they have to go on. And I'm talking about somebody that's terminally ill. I'm not talking about the whole mental illness thing. Not talking about that at all. I'm talking about terminally ill people. People that are going to die, and there's just no way around it. I mean, I know we're all going to, but I think you understand what I'm saying. And again, I don't know that I can firmly put myself on one side or the other on that, because that's up to a person. We've all, and I hate to bring up movies. I really hate to bring up movies. But we've all seen that movie scene to where somebody being humane to somebody else ends their life because they're not going to make it anyway, and they're very much suffering tragically for that period of time. So, they end their life out of humane reasons. So I understand that, and I get it, and I'm not 100% against it when it comes to a case of somebody that's terminal, chronic, somebody that, but when it comes to mental illness, nah, I can't stand behind that. Now, I will put my foot on that side of the fence when it comes to being mentally ill. Look, this whole mentally ill thing has really been allowed to get out of hand. And I'm not even going to touch on the popular subjects that are related to mental illness. I say popular subjects, I think you know what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about people that are just generally suicidal, but also, and I'm sure you've heard of these wonders of imagination, the individuals that will disable themselves because they feel like they should have been born disabled. There was a woman, she was on Dr. Phil, that actually took her own eyesight because she had convinced herself that all her life that she was supposed to be born blind. And so she took her own eyesight. And if I'm not mistaken, it was with the help of medical, quote-unquote, professionals, if I'm not mistaken. Now, when do we draw a line here? I mean, some of this stuff really needs to be addressed with cold hard facts. And sometimes people do need slapped upside the head and say, hey, look, you got a couple of bubbles off. Why am I so open to talk in that manner about this subject? Because I've got a couple of bubbles off. And I'm not shy about admitting it or anything else. I would be cheating myself and I would be cheating you if I wasn't honest about it. Many that's been around here know that I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. No, I'm not former military or anything like that, but I've had one hell of a life. And I don't really get into detail about my triggers, and I won't get into detail about my triggers. I should say trigger, because there's only one thing that would really throw me into a loop, so to speak. But it affects my everyday life. And so I'm not going to sit here and act like it doesn't exist, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't understand what it means to have issues. And I've dealt with one type of an issue or another. I used to wear, when I was young, I used to really wear my heart on a sleeve, and relationships ending for me was brutal. And I had suffered a lot of issues with that. I've gotten over that stuff. Now I'm kind of on the other end of the spectrum. I'm the kind of person I can walk away and not think twice. Why? Well, typically, in order to get me to that spot to where I even want to walk away, takes quite a bit. And when somebody gets me there, I will walk away without emotion. It is what it is. But that's probably because of what I dealt with in my younger years and how much I had been hurt. Kind of makes a person calloused. And not only that, but I've learned plenty in between then and now. One of the things I learned is the simple fact that this too shall pass. And that is so important to keep in mind, as well as the one thing, I've never dealt with addiction or anything, but one thing that I've always had an extremely high level of respect for was the prayer. I'm trying to think of what it's called now, but absolutely, you're only in control of so much, and you have to know when to let go of things that you're not in control of. And just because something's bad for you doesn't mean that it may necessarily be okay, but how you respond to it is very important. And as long as you can remember that this too shall pass, and you understand of what you do have control over and what you don't have control over, it gives you a little bit more of a firm foundation for being, serenity prayer. Thank you very much. I draw blanks sometimes. And the serenity prayer is just so on target, it's unreal. And if you can adjust your mindset to a mindset closer to that, you will be able to get past some really dark things. And just, I'm not saying that everything's okay, everything's hunky-dory, but you'll at least get past it, and you'll at least have the understanding that tomorrow might be better. So I can't get behind this whole euthanasia for the mentally ill. I can't. But let me read a few paragraphs so you know what's going on here. It says Canada has frozen a plan. I'm turning Asian. A plan. Canada has frozen a plan to expand its assisted suicide program to include people suffering from mental illnesses. Health Minister Mark Holland and Justice Minister Arif Virani have announced. Among the reasons for the postponement, they cited a lack of medical professionals, especially psychiatrists, willing to evaluate patients before a lethal injection. Well, I guess so. I mean, Dr. Kevorkian. Canada legalized euthanasia after the Supreme Court ruled in 2015 that requiring people to cope with intolerable suffering was tantamount to violating their basic rights. In 2021, the Superior Court of Quebec demanded that the government expand the criteria to those suffering from grievous and irremediable conditions such as depression and other mental health issues. The law's separate provisions for people with mental illnesses were originally postponed for 2 years. So let me explain why this should be even more concerning. I've said it countless amounts of times that in the Obamacare bill, there is a provision that anyone, child or adult, that has ever sought any type of help for any type of mental illness whatsoever. If you were a little anxious, if you were a little depressed and you went and got a little bit of Ativan, or if you were put on Prozac, or any of the mood-altering types of medications, technically, if you signed on to that, you are now a ward of the state. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people have no idea of that. And it's in there. I've read the Obamacare bill, cover to cover, if you will, 3 times. 3 times. I guarantee you it's in there. My fear is that they're going to take that and expand it with this stuff. And then at some point, just start making the call for people. Oh, look, you were a little depressed. You came in for medication back in 2006. Well, we can't fix this, so we're just going to euthanize you. When does it go from being something that you have to ask for to being something that you just have to do? Now, I know that sounds pretty bizarre, but if you look in the history books, you'll find that it would be far from the first time that they did something like that. You know, I could bring up Hitler, but there had been many, many others as well. That elderly people, disabled people, yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened. And if you've read any post-apocalyptic novels that have bits and pieces in it about that happening, about people being killed because they're disabled or because they're elderly, and there are several different book series that cover it. In fact, one of them was really good, and I can't remember what book series it was. I really do wish I could. But during that particular part of the book, you know, I was talking about how somebody was walking along and ashes were falling from the sky. And those ashes were actually from the incinerators, of the crematoriums, if you will, that was incinerating people. It was really sent a chill down your spine. But it's been done. It's something that historically had been done, and not just by one leader or one country. It's happened multiple times. So that's my fear of all of this. That's what my fear is that they're doing, is they're putting in the groundwork to be able to once again do that. So, just saying, pretty crazy. We have a drink of tea here. And the next story is a humdinger too. It's like, geez, when does it end? I have a couple of vapes here. I'll let you marinate on the headline for a second while I vape. Marinating yet? Who'da thunk it? Pun intended. Cancer cases... Cancer? Where did I get that from? Cancer cases set to soar by 77%, says WHO. Interesting. global cases of cancer will surge to 35 million by the year 2050, the World Health Organization's cancer agency has predicted, a 77% increase over figures reported in 2022. The predictive data, published on Thursday by the WHO's International Agency for Research on Cancer, cites the use of tobacco and alcohol, as well as obesity and poor air quality, as the primary factors driving the expected increase in cases by 2050. Now, full stop. We got to talk about this. Our air quality, and I'm speaking globally, is better than it has ever been. That's a fact. The air quality globally is better than it has ever been. So understand, and that's by a long shot, okay? Even in, say, China, for instance, they don't have the smog that they used to. I mean, they still have it some there, but not like they used to. And in the United States, it ain't nothing like it used to be. Nothing. And so I looked at that earlier today, and I'm like, air quality? Well, that's kind of crazy. Alcoholism, I think, if I'm not mistaken, has been somewhat kind of plateaued, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, obesity is on the rise, dramatically on the rise. But the use of tobacco is not. Just like with the air pollution, the least amount of people smoking is now. Now, I won't say the same involving vaping. However, I'm dropping it. Vaping does not cause cancer. There is nothing in this e-cig, in the liquid, to cause cancer. Nothing at all. So, if people are actually using tobacco products, and I'm not including vaping in that, I'm talking cigarettes, cigars, pipes, you know what I mean. Anything where you're combusting tobacco, that's down. It's never been lower than what it is right now. So when we look at this list that they give us of the reasons, the contributing factors as to why cancer is going to soar 77%, we can write off the tobacco use. We can write off the air pollution. Now, we definitely can't write off obesity. And like I said about alcohol, it's kind of, it's not much going up or down. It's really about the same, to be honest. The only thing that's changed is the population. More people, so naturally, per capita, there are more alcoholics, but the percentage is staying pretty much the same. So I feel like we can't count that if that's not raising dramatically. So the only thing that really we're looking at on that list of what they're saying is obesity. And yeah, again, that is off the charts high. Now, there's only really one thing that really contributes to cancer when it comes to obesity that I could see associated with obesity. You may or may not know this, but cancer feeds on sugar. And I know that there are probably a good number of people that are like, how come the first thing they give me when I went to chemo is cookies? I ask the same question. And in fact, I ask, why chemo? There's a protocol, procedure, I don't know what you want to word on, a diet called the Gerson, it's the Gerson diet. I can't remember if there might be an actual different name for it. And, well, Gerson therapy. Sorry, I couldn't think of what word they had with it. Gerson therapy. And what it basically does is it's using, like, good quality natural fruits and vegetables. And what you basically do, keeping in mind that cancer feeds on sugar, it's got more sugar receptors than any other kind of receptors, and that's how they know that cancer feeds on sugar. So their idea is to zap you with radiation, and that not only kills cancer cells, but it kills good cells as well. And then, because of what the radiological treatments, the chemo, what it does is it weakens you totally from top to bottom. So they start feeding you sugar cookies and stuff like that to help get your energy back up. But what that's also doing is feeding the cancer cells that had survived. So that's why I would always I was interested in the Gerson therapy where I heard it, because what that does is it eliminates any kind of processed sugars out of your system. The only sugars, because your body does need sugar to survive, the only sugars that you get from the Gerson therapy are natural, simple sugars. And, well, of course, I'm not a doctor. I can't give medical advice, and I can't make any medical claims. But if you're curious about it, the Gerson treatment, and I think it's G-H-E-R. Hang on. Let me make sure. No, it's not. No H. G-E-R-S-O-N. And there actually is, here, let me grab this link. There's a Gerson Institute here, and the website's just gerson.org, Gerson.org, gerson.org. And this talks about all the benefits from the Gerson therapy. And I learned about this a long time ago. And from my understanding, and I'm not making any claims, from my understanding is it's done pretty well. And that's all I'll say. You'll have to dig more into it. But starts out, and you're probably not going to like this, but it starts out with a coffee enema. I kid you not, a coffee enema. And it uses that coffee enema to detox you, essentially. And what it says here is that the Gerson therapy is a natural treatment that activates the body's extraordinary ability to heal itself through an organic, plant-based diet, raw juices, coffee enemas, and natural supplements. So, you take that for what it's worth. But I started looking into this Gerson therapy a long time ago when I very first heard. I mean, it's been at least 15, 20 years ago when I heard about it. And in fact, I have got in my, I need to make those available. In my files somewhere, I do have the videos, because there are some videos for the Gerson therapy treatment. And, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make those available at thewatchmannews.com. Probably it'll be over the next couple of days. Remind me, okay? Gerson therapy videos, get them on the website. Okay? And I will make those available on the website. On the website here, we have resources. Right now, I only have e-juice recipes and FEMA gasifier plans. Over the course of the next couple of days, I will get the Gerson therapy videos in the resources tab on the website, so that way you guys have access to them. You can watch them. I'll make sure that it's not like put up there in a way you can't get them. That way you can just download them and whatnot. You can either watch them from the website or you can download them from the website, and I'll make that happen within the next couple of days. But I don't think I don't think that this is going to be natural. This increase in cancer. And the only other thing that I have to say when it comes to that, I don't like microwave ovens. I'm telling you that right now. I do not like microwave ovens. What really tipped me off about microwave ovens and what they do was I have a lot of different interests, and that includes things like UFOs. And of course, you can't have an interest into something like UFOs without at least brushing up against crop circles at one point or another. And I learned something a long, long time ago about some of the crop circles. Not all of them, but some of the crop circles. And some of the crop circles, they noticed there was a molecular change in the plants where the crop circles were. And I can remember learning that the only thing that man could do that could have changed the molecular structure of those plants like it was with a microwave. So that got me thinking, wait a minute. So when I heat food up in a nuker, it's actually having a molecular effect on that food. That cannot be good. That cannot be good. And that was decades ago that I learned about that. We don't have a microwave. There is not a microwave in our kitchen. And I couldn't be happier. If I can't take a few minutes to put something in a pot and heat it up on the stove, leftovers if you will, like had spaghetti leftovers today, then, well, that's on me. And it doesn't take a whole long time versus using a microwave just to warm something up on the stove. So, but like I always say, you do you, boo. If you know, I think my personal feelings that microwave ovens has at least some effect when it comes to the cancer rates. And I will definitely tell you that if you look at trends, if you look at the trends from when microwave ovens came out and the cancer trends as far as the percentage of people, you're going to see a correlation. I assure you. I'll just kind of stay away from a microwave. But you make your own call. I wanted to point that article out, though, because I do not think that that's going to be an organic matter, if you will. I think it's going to get a little help. I read this. Now, I got to say up front, first and foremost, I am not a fan of what he's doing when it comes to, computer chips in the brain. Not a fan at all. Now, here's the thing. If it was being used to help give people a better life, because there are all kinds of things they could do with that type of technology. Oh, I don't know what's up with the eye. I don't know if it says anything. No, it doesn't say anything in the thing. I don't know what the deal with that picture is. But I will say that you would know as well as I do that they're out to get Musk. I still think it's controlled opposition, though. And a large part of that is because of the whole Neuralink thing. And again, if they were going to use Neuralink in a manner in which was going to better people's lives, for instance, if there was somebody that suffered from a condition, for instance, cerebral palsy, okay? You may or may not know, Jen has cerebral palsy. And what essentially happened is that at some time before or during childbirth, there was a loss of oxygen to the brain in which part of the brain dies. And that causes, it can cause a myriad of effects. I mean, when it comes to cerebral palsy, there's a huge range. There are some people that you've met in your life that have cerebral palsy and you never knew it because the effect on them was that minimal. Then there's people like Jen that she has to walk with crutches. She can walk, but not without the aid of crutches. And then there are other people, like a friend of Jen's, for instance. She has cerebral palsy. She can't walk. She's in a wheelchair. I think what her talking is, how would you describe that? I mean, I don't want to say the word limited, but her talking is affected by it. And, just pretty much all of her, as far as motion and stuff, she's in a wheelchair. I don't think she's got, like, a whole lot use of her hands, does she? Daisy. Right, a little bit, but she doesn't have full use, right? Yeah, so I mean, it spans. And then there's people that's got cerebral palsy so bad that they're bedridden. So it really, the whole span. However, in some instances, and I don't think that this would help, say, in Jen's instance, because Jen actually has some issues as far as the way that, like, her feet formed and whatnot. So there's some actual, orthopedic issues. And so I don't know that it would benefit her, but there are other people that say, and I'm just using one example of one condition, cerebral palsy, to where they don't have any type of deformities or anything like that, but the brain just can't properly speak to the muscles to be able to move, okay? Because that's a large part of it. Something like that, Neuralink could be used, especially in combination with AI, to be able to help that person walk. And that would be incredible. I would imagine there's probably a way that you could use Neuralink with some type of, say, a camera system in order to give somebody eyesight. These are all things that I think would absolutely be incredible to be able to improve the quality of life for individuals. Now, you have to have your own personal stance on it. I can't make that call for you. There are some people that may have some faith-based beliefs that says, no, you can't do that. I'll respect that. But I think that if the technology is available, the people should have the option to choose for themselves. I'm big on that. And I'm just really concerned with the Neuralink. And I know I got caught on a tangent that has nothing to do with this. Let's get to the article. So the headline is, Musk took drugs with Tesla and SpaceX execs, says Wall Street Journal. Now let me read the scary part, right? Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has been taking illegal drugs for years, on many occasions, alongside the board members and directors of his companies, the Wall Street Journal reported on Saturday, citing sources who claimed to have either witnessed the drug use or had knowledge of it. Yeah, it's kind of like when Michael Phelps kind of won all those gold medals for swimming, and then it came out that he was a pothead. Yeah, because drugs are bad. According to the report, Musk has attended a number of social gatherings in recent years with Tesla board member Joe Gebbia, where he recreationally took ketamine, an anesthetic commonly used to euthanize house pets. Other directors, Antonio Gracias, Kimball Musk, and Steve Jurvetson, have reportedly consumed drugs like ecstasy, and LSD with him at several parties, including those held at Hotel El Ganzo, a boutique hotel in Mexico allegedly known for its drug-fueled events. I'm just standing here going, and? Because let me tell you something about the drugs that they're talking about. Now, I heard ketamine has actually got some pretty good uses as far as helping people. I don't know a lot about it. But I do know for a fact that ecstasy has been toyed with on clinical trials and has had remarkable results. I know that LSD has been used in some clinical trial type of stuff with remarkable results, as well as psilocybinous mushrooms. And in fact, right now, if I'm not mistaken, there's still clinical trials going on, including with Alzheimer's patients, to where psilocybinous mushrooms are showing amazing results. I'm just saying. But here's what gets me. This is the type of hypocrisy that these folks are using. There is another well-known entrepreneur that literally, in his, I think, autobiography is what you would call it, has, I can't say he attributed it to it, but he certainly mentioned it. Steve Jobs, in his biography, had openly admitted that when he wrote the operating system that made him famous, he was on LSD. You can read the book. So I think about this and it's like, wait a minute. And there are tons of entrepreneurs and inventors and you name it that have talked about that. And now I guess we're all supposed to use this in our minds in the court of public opinion against Elon Musk. It's unbelievable. But I will tell you to be very discerning about all of this, because I really, really do honestly feel that Elon Musk is one of many, many individuals that is being used for controlled opposition. So there are many out there. Anyway, I've got one more. Wow, it's 9:12. I've been yakking. One more here. Another. Ooh, you're supposed to be scared of this. Are you scared yet? Tucker Carlson spotted in Moscow, says the media. And I'm like, yeah. Tucker Carlson said not real long ago that he was interested in interviewing Putin. And at that particular time, I believe there was some quote-unquote representatives in our government that pretty well threatened him if he did as such. So when I saw this headline earlier, I was like, goody. Because I want to hear that interview. I definitely want to hear that interview. I like Tucker. I do. I really think very highly of Tucker Carlson. And he is one of the very, very small handful that I am confident in saying is not controlled opposition. I can't really tell you a whole lot of others that aren't. I do not believe that Tucker Carlson is controlled opposition. So anyway, the article says American journalist Tucker Carlson has spent several days in Russia where he attended a ballet performance at the Bolshoi Theater, Telegram channel MASH reported on Saturday, sharing several photos of the conservative commentator. Carlson allegedly touched down at Vnukovo Airport, I know I probably said it wrong, on a Turkish Airlines flight from Istanbul on Thursday after several hours delay, according to the channel. He was later spotted talking in the ballet Spartacus at the Bolshoi Theater in Moscow. The conservative commentator is yet to confirm the trip, and it remains unclear what business he had in Russia. However, rumors of his intention to interview President Vladimir Putin have been circulating since last year. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov did not rule out the possibility of Carlson interviewing Putin when asked about it in September, though he explained that the Russian leader would wait to sit down with any would wait to sit down with any American journalist until the U.S. population was no longer so seriously stupefied by Russia-hating propaganda. Carlson himself told Swiss outlet Die Weltwoche that he had been prevented from setting up an interview with Putin by the White House, while he expressed dismay that he did not receive more support from his fellow journalists regarding his intention to sit down with the Russian president and question why Americans are not allowed to hear Putin's voice. He declined to provide any further details regarding when the interview was supposed to take place or how the presidential administration of Joe Biden intervened to stop it. The former Fox News host claimed previous attempts to secure an interview with Putin had led to aggressive surveillance by the National Security Agency, alleging he was unmasked by the spooks and the contents of his emails were leaked to the media in 2021 in order to paint him as a disloyal American and force him off the cable news network. The NSA denied Carlson was an intelligence target and claimed it never sought to take him off the air. If you believe that, I've got all kinds of bridges and marshland and stuff that you can buy. So, I'll tell you what, that guy's got steel gonads, and they're huge. And I respect him for it. Wow. While I hope that is what he did, I also fear at what the possible backlash could be, especially with the administration and the agencies that we currently have with the FBI, the CIA. I shudder to think what he could be coming back to. But we'll see. That's all we can do is see. I absolutely support him interviewing Putin. I don't think that Tucker is going to bow to anybody. And I think Tucker will ask the hard questions no matter who it is, including Putin. That's why when rumors started circulating, people just talking, about how he could have possibly been one of Trump's running mates, I got excited. That is something I would get behind. A Trump presidency with Tucker Carlson as vice president, you better believe I would be behind that. In fact, I would be so behind that, I would get registered and I would be there voting myself. That's a fact. Because I don't think, at least at this point, I don't feel that Tucker can be bought. I don't think so. And, I could be wrong. They say that everybody's got a price, but not everybody does. Not everybody does. And I don't know that he's got a price. He's a man of great integrity. I can tell you that. And if he did indeed interview Putin, I'll be looking forward to hearing that interview. I really, truly will. I don't suffer from Russophobia. I know there is a lot behind what's going on in Ukraine right now. And I know that there's a lot that falls on Ukrainians. I mean, it's a fact. And then, not only that, you're talking about a truly Nazi regime, meaning Ukraine. Yeah, I can't get behind that. I can't support that. It blows my mind how they've got so many people in the United States supporting Ukraine. And if these people actually knew the truth about Ukraine, how corrupt it is, probably wouldn't be so much in support. But the people don't get to hear about that because the media, even the conservative media, won't talk about it. And it's sad. But I have to give major props to Tucker. Really do. Have a few vapes. We'll run through some headlines here. And then I'm gonna crash. Been kind of a long day. My legs hurt, my arms hurt, my hands hurt. I'll cry if you insist. No, I won't. I'm feeling better. I took some ibuprofen a little earlier. I do feel better. I'll probably take a little more before bed. I cut a lot of decals today. A lot. You got to remember, well, 2 of the designs I'm doing are 3-color decals. So, I do have one done. Hang on. Now I made it a little bit bigger than this, so the actual decal will actually be 2 inches wider. This is done in 6-inch, and the actual one will be done in 8-inch. But yeah. Trying to get it where there's not a glare, and it's straight. There we go. You can kind of see it there. I stand with Texas, with the Texas, whatever you want to call it, logo, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, yeah, kind of cool. I won't tell you where I got the design from. I'm serious. I won't tell you where I got the design from. But, yeah, that's I'm making those decals. And there's a guy in town that wants some. So that takes a little doing. That's not an easy one to do. That's why I made it 2 inches bigger. So it gives me a little more room. I won't say room for error, because there can't be error. There's actually, under the blue and the red stripes, there's actually a white stripe. And so in order to make it look good, you have to get that perfectly on there. Otherwise you can see the white under it. This one's done perfect. However, earlier today, was it today? No, yesterday, I tried to assemble, some more of these in the 6-inch, and I couldn't get it lined up perfectly. And the problem is that the lines are so thin, there's not enough surface area of adhesive to keep that line in place while I'm working with it. And so either what's on top or on bottom would move a little bit. So even just by going up to a couple inches bigger and making those lines a little bit thicker helps more than you could ever imagine. So I haven't put one together yet in the 8-inch, but tomorrow I'll be doing it, and I suspect it'll be a little easier. So we'll see. All I can do is try. I think I've got 15 cut. I'm going to try to get as many of the 15 done properly. I don't know how many he's going to want. I don't know how many anybody else is going to want. But, and if people seem to like them and there's more than 15 that people want, then I'll make more. No doubt about that. Anywho. Alright, let's do these headlines so I can go whisper sweet nothings into my pillow. Or Blue's ear. She doesn't stay up in bed long, though. She comes up, she gets her lovin's, and pretty much shortly after her lovin's, she gets frustrated because I toss and turn, and she gets up and sighs and gets off the bed and goes lay down next to the bed. And then after a little while, she'll get up from... After she sighs, she'll get up from beside the bed, and she'll go in the come in the living room and sleep on what we call the blue ton. And then usually sometime in the early morning, if she hears us stirring or anything like that, she'll come back in there and she'll jump back up in bed, but she'll lay down by my legs instead of up by me. And she'll usually stay there until, because I usually get up shortly after that, and I sleep with a heating pad, and so I get up and she steals my heating pad. So it's got a timer, it shuts off on itself, but she'll go and lay on the heating pad. But I love that dog. She is so awesome. But she'll get up there and she'll lay in bed, just like a human, right up against me with her head on my pillow while I scratch her belly. I love it. Wouldn't trade that girl for nothing. Anyway. Next decade to see over 1 million, or 1 trillion, I get it. Let me say that again. Next decade to see over 1 trillion spent on boosting gas output worldwide, says a report. A Russian tax service demands 140 million from IKEA, says the media. They must have bought some office furniture or something. Imran Khan's... Oh, thank you. I didn't realize. Thank you. Let's see. Imran Khan sentenced to a 3rd prison term in a week. Iconic Berlin department store declares bankruptcy. That's not only an issue for U.S. businesses and, well, businesses around Europe and the U.K. Let's see. EU citizens' taxes are going to terrorists, says Moscow. Death toll rises to 28 from Ukrainian strike on bakery. Red Sea crisis spurring demand for rail freight via Russia, says CNBC. Get the Zuck out of here. 20 years later, the once revolutionary Facebook is a hotbed of unreliability and misinformation. Well, yeah. Most of that is because of Zuckerberg. Meta posts record one-day jump in market value. Probably wasn't nothing to do with that article. I covered that. Northern Ireland elects first nationalist leader. Germany to sign security pact with Ukraine this month, says media. Oh gosh, I'm going to get huffed at this. I have been avoiding saying this article out loud all day. In fact, I waited until she went outside before I said something to Jen about this article, because I know better. Russia... Wait, I think she's in the bedroom. I'm still going to get huffed for this. Russia restricts banana imports from South American country. Probably back there glaring and growling. Russia cosmonaut sets new space record. Yeah, she's got to have her banana every morning. Canada delays youth... Oh, covered that one. And that one. Biden wins first primary amid tepid turnout. Kremlin comments on EU scaremongering. Covered that. Trump lists criteria for possible vice presidential pick. It wasn't me. British aircraft carrier to miss NATO drills over propeller shaft issue. Ukrainian leadership is delusional, says an expert. Zelensky promises bigger leadership reset than Zelensky firing. I'm still thinking there's going to be a coup in Ukraine. West totally wrong about Ukraine, says NATO member. Israel's national security minister prefers Trump in power. And lastly, U.S. Senate unveils new bill with $60 billion for Ukraine. So if you thought you were done paying Ukraine, think again. It's so ridiculous at this point. It is insane. Anyway, I am tired. I am going to get out of here. And I appreciate you all coming. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow, and I hope to see you then. And as always, God bless you, we love you, and be one with your spirit. Shalom.